See the second question. One of the very good questions, I think. Data security has assumed significant importance in the digitized world due to rising cyber crimes. Okay. Justice B.N. Sri Krishna Committee report addresses issues related to data security. Yes. What, in your view, are the strengths and weaknesses of the report relating to the protection of personal data in cyberspace? So, very big question. Our standard thumb rule, whenever big question comes, you can see what are the multiple dimensions involved in the big question and address each and every dimension, give a very good way forward and conclude. That will be the framework. Yes or no? So here, what will be the important side headings which you are going to present? Yes, what are the important side headings you are going to present here? Okay, strengths and drawbacks. Yes, what else? So how will you introduce the question here? So introduction, key aspects of the report. Okay, key aspects of the committee report. Then what are the strengths? Yes, Navya. Highlights of the report, strengths and weaknesses. Strengths will be one heading, weaknesses will be one heading. What will be the way forward, and then the conclusion. Good. So what will be the introduction be like? What will be the introduction be like? So you can introduce in what context? Yes, introduction about the multidimensionality. So what Sumant is saying about the multidimensionality of cyber threats and about the need of this committee strengths. Yes, maybe you can mention about cyber security and its importance in the present context also. Yes, Sumant, you can mention about the cyber security and the context in which it is now important as to how we are vulnerable towards the cyber security or cyber threats. And then
sir, we can use data.
Sorry,
we can use data how much we prone to cyber threats.
Yeah, like what program has written.
Percentage. Yes, yes, sir.
45%. Yes. If you have data also, see, data is the best thing you can write. Okay, data is the best. If you have proper legitimate data given by a recognized international body, you can always substantiate the data. Okay, no problem. So here the introduction will be how the cyber security is important, the data security in the present context, where you can say that the present concept is about big data and data analytics, and where large amount of data are being stored in government servers and also some of the social media networks. Hence, the data security and personal data of individuals become very important and assume significance in view of rising cyber crimes. In this context, the Government of India has appointed Justice B.N. Sri Krishna Committee to look into various dimensions of data security. This can be the introduction. The key points of the committee report. The key points of committee report are, what are the key points of committee report? They have segregated personal data and sensitive data. Okay, they have defined what is the personal data, what is the sensitive part of personal data, and what is not an important part of the data. Okay, and then some of the exemptions given by them are the state authorities like the intelligence authorities, the CBI, enforcement directorate, etc. They can have access to the data in the view of security of the state. This, of course, became a very big controversy. In view of the security of state, they have said that some of the security agencies can have access to this particular sensitive data also. Okay, and they have gone on to explain as to how various agencies are responsible for implementation of this particular data security. Okay, they have gone on to explain how various security agencies have been responsible for implementing this particular cyber security or data protection. Now, what are the strengths of this report? Okay, they are asking you what are the strengths and weaknesses of the report. So the next slide heading will be, what are the strengths of the report? What will be the strengths of the report? If you remember, in this report, there is something called individual consent. Okay, individual consent is required for sharing the data. Okay, including the state should obtain the individual consent for sharing any data. And if there is any extremely sensitive information which the individual is feeling is not in the interest, he can get that data removed from the online. And the data agencies should remove that. For example, Google is storing a lot of personal data. If I feel that my personal data is more than what I believe is required on the internet, I can ask Google to remove the data and it has to oblige. So that is the first thing, that is individual consent. And then they have asked for setting up a data protection agency which can regulate such grievances. I may go to Google, but Google may say, no, boss, this is our minimum protocol. we will put all these personal details. For us, it is not personal, but for me, it is personal. So I can go through data protection agency or authority, and they can mediate on behalf of me. They can regulate on behalf of me and get this data removed. And if you remember, Sri Krishna committee also proposed that the personal data preferably should be stored in Indian servers, not the abroad servers. And if any of the agency only sensitive personal data, right? What's
Sir,
your
only sensitive personal data.
Yeah.
Sensitive other personal data, only sensitive
Yes, only
data have to
sensitive
be.
personal data should be stored in Indian servers preferably. And if any data agency, Sriram, your voice is breaking. You have something you can type. And then if some data agency, whoever is responsible for storing these data, if they are deviating from these recommendations, they are supposed to be penalized for the violations. Whoever is not agreeing for this data protection law, they can be penalized. Okay. And the there is a clause also for penalty up to 4% of the turnover, something is there. So that if you remember, you can write. If they are deviating from the particular aspect, the data protection agencies, be it Google or any cloud server or anyone who's deviating from this particular law, they have to be penalized. These are the positives or the strengths of the report. Then what are the negatives parts of, or the weaknesses? Sorry, the weaknesses of the report. Okay, the weakness of the report is there is a differential treatment. Okay, the treatment is different for private agencies and government agencies. While the private agencies, you are readily going and penalizing them. At the same time, you are authorizing the state to get the personal data in the interest of state security. So gross mismatch. So government can do something, but the private agencies cannot do the same thing, and they are being penalized. Okay, they have not addressed the issues of data privacy. You have only segregated the data, but what about the privacy? I don't want my data at all. Do I have any option? Okay, there is no clarity on what is the roles and responsibilities of the so-called DPA, the Data Protection Agency or Authority, who is going to regulate on my behalf with the data centers. What is the role and responsibility? What is the scope of that? They have not defined and left it vaguely. And also, so these are some of the, and then when they are asking to give the sensitive data into India, some of the foreign companies like Google, Facebook, they are reluctant because they feel that it again requires a lot of investment to put servers and other equipment in India. So it's like a capital investment. So these are the drawbacks. These are the weaknesses of the report. And then you can conclude prima facie, the report is very good and it's a promising starting step in the field of data security. With the way forward can be to address the weaknesses by having a proper stakeholder approach and bringing everyone into the consensus. Okay. And then we can implement the data security law. You can even give the example of the virtual number for Aadhaar. Okay, the Aadhaar number, now you can even quote your virtual Aadhaar number, which is not the exact Aadhaar number, and your Aadhaar number data can be protected. Yes?
Yes, sir.